Greeting, my friends. A client once asked me to help with helping his child develop a thicker skin in response to verbal bullying from classmates. That teasing about your idiosyncrasies, your quirkiness that results in your feelings being hurt and maybe even you being excluded. So that we're on the same page, when we say bullying, we're defining it in the simplest terms. We're thinking of bullying as an aggressive behavior that involves an imbalance of power, repeatedly targeting and intimidating a vulnerable person. I was personally bullied through my school years, from kindergarten all the way up until I'd say my sophomore year of high school. Anything from being chased, punched in the stomach, someone spit on my hair once in junior high, the verbal threats, I'm going to kick your butt after school or that you're dead meat. And in second grade, I missed a total of a month in school because of the bullying. The idea of going to school would cause so much anxiety, I get sick to my stomach. It was even worse. The teacher was a prolific screamer. It was like she yelled about everything. So it was traumatic enough just being in her presence. My own kids were bullied as well, especially my oldest. He became suicidal in middle school years because the bullying was so severe. And I had to pull him out of school and homeschool him because the school wouldn't address it. Now, back to my client's request, which was, how do I help my son develop a thicker skin? I responded to him by saying, you don't want a thicker skin because a thicker skin suggests that you need armor to shield you from what's being thrown at you. Armor requires you to see only through the lens of threat. Make sense? Some people truly are a threat. Don't get me wrong there. And it makes sense to be more aware when you're around them. But there's more you can do besides exhaust yourself by staying on guard so often and for extended periods of time that anxiety becomes your default setting. Now I want to suggest an alternative to armoring up, fighting fire with fire. Or my personal favorite, just ignoring it. That's something my mom used to say to me a lot. Just ignore it. Just pretend you didn't hear it. Sorry, my all or nothing brain doesn't work like that. What I suggest, instead of fighting fire with fire or just ignoring it, I suggest you try deflecting the bullying back to the bully. And you don't need to utter a single word to do this, okay? Now, let me tell you a story that informs this strategy. Way back in the day, when I started college, somewhere in the early 90s, I took a criminal justice class, and the teacher was this really cool guy with an amazing story. He'd been a cop, a prison guard, martial arts instructor, and a bunch of other things I can't remember after all these years. Well, he started telling us a particular story in class one day. And this has become a principle for how I show up in the world. The story goes like this. He took one of his classes, criminal justice students, to tour a prison. And to enter the prison, visitors had to walk within view of the prisoners who were in a large fenced-in area. I'm not saying they were like 6 feet away. They were probably like a good distance. So they got a sense that these were people behind the fence, but they couldn't quite make out the faces. In any case, they had to walk down this path that went past the prisoners. While they were walking towards the entrance, many of the prisoners, males, rushed the fence and started catcalling, hooting, and hollering, and saying all kinds of vulgar things to all the women that were in the criminal justice class. So my teacher shared at that moment that he asked his students to stop walking. Then he told his students this. Take note, folks. These men have one opportunity to make an impression on you, and this is what they choose. Let that sink in for a minute. Now back to the scenario in the classroom where your child is being verbally bullied. I suggest that instead of going on the defense and putting up armor, you want to teach the child, and learn this for yourself, by the way, how to deflect the words of the bully back. But your ability to deflect starts earlier in the day, actually, before you even encounter any bullying. Because as you look around at the world, your neighborhood, wherever you drive, however you get where you're going to see examples of kindness. You're going to see people greeting each other in a friendly way, stranger helping another stranger. If you're driving to work, maybe you're going to see One driver let another driver in, all these little acts that escape us because maybe we take them for granted. It's important to remind yourself daily that bullies are the exception in a world where the majority of people are kind. But you don't notice it if you're on threat detection all the time, and neither does your child. They don't have a balanced perspective of what the world looks like because it's all about looking for the dangers. Here's where the deflection comes in. And you're going to say this between your own ears. No need to get into an argument with someone set on bullying you. The strategy is acknowledging in your mind the person bullying. And with a curious mind, think this. I've seen a lot of things today. I've seen people being kind, saw other people being helpful, and now I see you. And of all the things you could have put into this moment, this is what you're going with. Interesting. Then you go back to what you were doing. You see how this also depersonalizes the bullying? It keeps the behavior with the person doing the bullying because you're just being an observer. You're watching somebody act out a play. To have a thicker skin, to create armor, it has to be first and foremost about you. Meaning the person's words and behavior need to be about you. That's when you feel bullied and defensive and the need to put up armor. But when you make the shift to curiosity, as opposed to being on defense, that's not about you. Curiosity is about observation, being a witness, just observing something. You don't have to be a participant. Also, the fact the world is full of kind, helpful people helps keep your spirits up. It empowers you to show up more supportively for others and accepting help from these people when you need it. That's another conversation, because you and I know people who believe asking for help is an admission of failure. So I hope this strategy is helpful for you. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about it. Now, here's the bottom line. By deflecting bullying back to the bully through curiosity, we can avoid the need to armor up or ignore hurtful behavior. This strategy keeps the focus on the bully's choices while reminding us that there is more kindness than cruelty in the world. Though no one deserves bullying, maintaining perspective and community can help us withstand unkindness while bringing out the good in ourselves and others. Well, thank you for listening and sharing these episodes with others. I appreciate you greatly. I'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening to the Brian Can Help podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star review and share it with others who could really use the encouragement. On my website, briancanhelp.com, you'll find my books, online courses, and one-to-one coaching programs for living a conscious, empowered, and fulfilling life. I'd love to have you in one of our compassionate communities. Until next time, thanks for being you.